Secretary of State asked Michiganders to report their neighbors for election misinformation. Wow, wow, wow. First, let's talk about the term misinformation. It is super duper subjective. We know that a lot of things that the government thought was would say was misinformation about some election stuff that happened turned out to not be misinformation. And some things they considered to be misinformation about COVID turned out to be not misinformation. So misinformation is basically just things that the government don't believe is true or try to propagandize that what their side is true. That's what really misinformation is. Anything that goes against what government says, or the ruling party, I should say, the ruling party says is not true. And most of the time, a lot of the so-called misinformation that government points out turns out to be true. And and so we're gonna talk a little bit about this. We're gonna talk about this crazy new thing that the state Secretary of State are asking Michigan people to do. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. Also, check out my check me out on X where I post news throughout the day as well. All right, so let's talk about this news now. This comes from Logan Washburn from the Federalist, and he reports that Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson is encouraging residents to report so-called misinformation from their neighbors ahead of the November election. Quote, misinformation about the election process, voter rights, or even an issue on the ballot is a serious threat to election security, reads an online document from Benson's office. Quote, if you see misleading or inaccurate information regarding voting or elections in Michigan, please report it. The document requests residents email reports of election misinformation with, quote, an image, if possible, to misinformation@michigan.gov. And Benson's office solicits residents to report misinformation on its voter education resources page. The Federalist asked Benson's office who this email reaches and how the state responds to alleged misinformation, but her office did not comment in the time of this for publication. So yeah, exactly. What would they do? So let's say someone posted so-called misinformation when it comes to elections, and then what? What are you gonna do? Like, are you gonna prosecute that person? Like, what's gonna happen? But Benson's office published another document discussing the so-called election misinformation, calling it, quote, the most potentially damaging threat to our democracy. It blamed, quote, partisans, grifters, and other opportunists here at home for hacking the minds of American citizens and called on residents to enforce the official narrative. So basically, again, anything that the ruling party says is not true is considered misinformation, and they want you to report them. They want you to tattle on them, and then they won't tell you what the repercussions are for that. So could it be if you are, we know that the leftists run Michigan. So let's say we have some type of election information that conservatives are pushing. Would that be considered misinformation because the party that's running it don't agree with it? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a slippery slope. But, quote, citizens can and should join this effort, the document reads, calling out misinformation when they see it and insisting that we hold people accountable for spreading lies about elections. For, quote, trusted information, Benson's office refers residents to his own fact check page, factcheck.org, PolitiFact, and Snopes, which are all leftist organizations. And we know, so who fact checks the fact checkers? How many times has Snopes, PolitiFact, and factcheck.org been wrong? Multiple times. I could point out specific incidences, but I'm not even going to get into that right now. But the latter three have shown their colors as leftist information gatekeepers. That's exactly what I was just alluding to. Benson, a Democrat, launched a, quote, democracy ambassador program for residents last week, according to a press release. This sounds like the Ministry of Truth. The state sends supposedly nonpartisan facts and resources to residents whom join, and it encourages them to share these approved messages, quote, within their communities where they will, quote, combat any election-related misinformation. This is crazy. I'm telling the state of Michigan set up their own Ministry of Truth. Participants will, quote, squash misinformation before it spreads, Benson said in the press release. The state's Democracy Ambassador webpage says the program consists of 3 steps. Sign up to receive approved information, share that information, and sign up to be a poll worker. Democrat Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel spoke to journalists last month, emphasizing collaboration between officials and the media in her efforts to, quote, eliminate misinformation from social media platforms. Meanwhile, Benson has come under fire recently for a host of election integrity failures. Under, quote, voting initiatives and resources, Benson's office directs residents to vote 411, which, as the Federalist previously reported, feeds voter information to a leftist data harvesting scheme. See, this is they're not supposed to be doing this. You know, it's supposed to be nonpartisan when it comes to voting in elections and stuff like that. But the state of Michigan is obviously leftist, and they're pushing leftist stuff, data harvesting for leftist organizations. But the Federalist asked Benson's office for comment on Vote 411's alleged data harvesting, but her office, of course, did not comment in time for publication. Benson also hosted David Becker of the Center of Election Innovation and Research at a press conference Monday, alongside the Center for Tech and Civic Life, which gave at least $328 million in Zuck bucks. We talked about that before in 2020. CARE funneled $70 million from Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg to local election agencies, advancing voting practices that favor the left. This is all diabolical. In December last year, Benson issued a manual instructing clerks that absentee ballot signatures were entitled to, quote, presumption of validity. Presumption, not actually checking it, but the presumption, automatically presume valid. That is crazy. A Michigan judge struck down the guidance, of course, as unconstitutional in a final order on Tuesday. Thank God. And in a demand letter to Benson in May, the Republican National Committee alleged that she failed to clean the voter rolls of 92,000 inactive registrants. It's just crazy, man. I can't even, on this platform, I can't really speak on what I really feel is going on right now. But y'all might have some type of idea of what I believe is going on right now. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.